Madonna stopped mid-song, tears streaming down her face, and said 5 words that made 18,000 people go silent. "I can't do this tonight." Nobody knew that 33 years earlier, on this exact day, her mother had died in her arms. It was December 1st, 2015, at the Joe Louis Arena in Detroit, Michigan. Madonna was in the middle of her Rebel Heart World Tour, performing in the city where she'd grown up, the city where everything had begun, the city where her mother was buried. The show was supposed to run 22 songs. Madonna only made it through 11 before something inside her shattered in front of thousands of witnesses. When Madonna's tour manager, Joe Esposito, had been scheduling the tour dates months earlier, he'd noticed something on the calendar that made him pause. "Madonna," he'd said carefully, "the Detroit show is scheduled for December 1st. Are you sure about this date?" Madonna had barely looked up from the choreography notes she was reviewing. "What's wrong with December 1st? It's the anniversary." "I know what day it is, Joe," Madonna had responded, her voice clipped and professional. "It's been 33 years. I'm fine. Book it." But some wounds don't heal with time. They just learn to hide better. Madonna Louise Ciccone, named after her daughter, who would become the world's biggest pop star, died of breast cancer on December 1st, 1963. She was only 30 years old. Her daughter, little Madonna, was 5. The memories from that day were fragments, painful shards that Madonna had spent 3 decades trying to bury. Her mother's labored breathing, the way the bedroom smelled like medicine, and something else, something final. How her mother's hand felt so thin and cold in her small 5-year-old grip. "Mommy will get better," her father had told her. But children know when adults are lying. Madonna remembered the exact moment her mother stopped breathing. She remembered the sound the machines made. She remembered how the adults had tried to pull her away, but she'd held on to her mother's hand, screaming, refusing to let go. She remembered the guilt, the crushing, suffocating guilt of a 5-year-old who somehow believed that if she'd just been better, smarter, more lovable, maybe her mother would have fought harder to stay. That guilt never went away. It just grew up with her, disguised itself as ambition, as perfectionism, as an unrelenting drive to prove to a dead woman that she'd been worth staying for. Detroit, December 1st, 2015. The arena was packed with 18,000 screaming fans who had no idea they were about to witness something unprecedented in Madonna's 33-year career. The show started 90 minutes late. Backstage, Madonna's makeup artist had to redo her face 3 times because tears kept ruining the work. The costume designer noticed Madonna's hands shaking so badly she couldn't zip her own outfit. The dancers exchanged worried glances, but said nothing. "Are you sure you can do this?" her choreographer had asked. "I have to," Madonna had answered. These people paid to see a show. But some nights, the show doesn't matter. Some nights, the past refuses to stay buried. When Madonna finally walked on stage, the crowd went wild. She launched into iconic, then Bitch, I'm Madonna, the high-energy opening that was designed to electrify the audience. But something was off. Michelle Torres, sitting in row 14, noticed it immediately. Madonna's smile didn't reach her eyes. Michelle would later recall, she was going through the motions perfectly, hitting every mark, but it was like watching a robot. There was no life in it. Between songs, Madonna wasn't talking to the audience like she usually did. No jokes, no stories, no connection. She just sang and moved and stared at something nobody else could see. Sarah Chen, sitting in the front row with bright pink hair and a homemade Born This Way sign, watched Madonna carefully throughout the first hour. She kept looking at one specific empty seat in the front row. Sarah remembered, like she was expecting someone to appear. The seat had been reserved under Madonna's personal request. It remained empty all night. 11 songs into the set, the moment came that would change everything. "Oh Father," the song Madonna had written about her complicated relationship with her father, but which was really about the absence of her mother, about the hole that never filled, about the pain that never stopped. Madonna sat at the piano, her fingers resting on the keys. The arena quieted. This was one of the emotional peaks of the show, and fans always gave it their full attention. She began to play. The first notes floated through the massive space, delicate and haunting. Then she tried to sing. It's funny that way. You can get used to the tears and the pain. Her voice cracked. She stopped, took a breath. The audience gave an encouraging round of applause, assuming it was just a momentary stumble. Madonna closed her eyes and tried again. "What Daddy never told me, what my mother never said." The word mother broke in half. Madonna's hands froze on the piano keys. Tears began streaming down her face, carving tracks through her perfect makeup. Madonna tried to stand up from the piano bench, but her legs wouldn't support her. She grabbed the edge of the piano to steady herself, her knuckles white with the effort. 18,000 people watched as the most powerful woman in pop music began to shake. Her shoulders heaving with sobs she could no longer control. Monica, one of her lead dancers, ran to her side. Madonna grabbed her arm like a drowning person, grabbing a life preserver. The backup singers stood frozen. The band didn't know whether to keep playing or stop. The crew in the wings started moving, thinking they needed to lower the curtain, end the show, protect Madonna from this public breakdown. Then Madonna reached for the microphone with a trembling hand and spoke 5 words that would echo through music history. "I can't do this tonight." The Joe Louis Arena, filled with 18,000 people who had been singing and screaming just minutes before, became absolutely silent. The kind of silence where you can hear your own heartbeat, where every breath sounds too loud. Madonna stood there center stage, tears running freely down her face, mascara streaking her cheeks, her hand gripping the microphone so tightly it was shaking. "I'm sorry," she whispered, but the microphone caught it, sent it echoing through the massive space. "I'm so sorry." The audience didn't know how to react. Should they clap? Should they stay quiet? Should they leave? Then someone in the back, the man's voice shouted, "We love you, Madonna." It was like breaking a spell. Others joined in. "We're here for you. It's okay. We love you." But Madonna shook her head, tears still falling. She had something she needed to say, something she'd kept hidden for 33 years. Madonna held the microphone with both hands, as if it was the only thing keeping her upright. "Today is December 1st, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but somehow filling every corner of that enormous arena. "Exactly 33 years ago today, my mother died." The silence deepened. You could hear people gasping, crying. She was 30 years old. I was 5. Madonna's voice cracked again, but she pushed through it. "I thought I could do this. I thought I was strong enough. I've been performing for 33 years. I've done thousands of shows. I've been through everything. Scandal, criticism, hate, love, everything. I thought I could handle one night, in my hometown, on the anniversary of my mother's death." She paused, wiping tears from her face with the back of her hand, smearing her makeup even more. "But I was wrong. Because standing here, in this city, in the place where she's buried, I realize I've been lying. To myself, to all of you, to everyone." The confession hung in the air like smoke. I'm not okay. I've never been okay. I'm just a daughter who still misses her mother every single day. And tonight, I can't pretend anymore." For a long moment, nothing happened. The silence stretched, unbearable and raw. Then Sarah Chen, the young woman with pink hair in the front row, did something extraordinary. She stood up, placed her hand over her heart, and extended it toward Madonna, a gesture of solidarity, of shared pain, of human connection. One by one, others began to do the same. First, the people around Sarah, then the entire front section, then the middle sections, then the balcony. Within minutes, all 18,000 people in the Joe Louis Arena were standing, hands over hearts, arms extended toward the stage, toward Madonna. Nobody was cheering. Nobody was applauding. They were just there, present, holding space for someone else's grief. Madonna looked out at this sea of silent support, and something shifted in her face. The tears didn't stop, but something else appeared in her eyes. Recognition, gratitude, the realization that she wasn't alone in this. She lifted the microphone again. "Can I try again?" The response was a gentle, supportive round of applause that sounded more like a hug than a cheer. Madonna walked back to the piano on unsteady legs. Monica stayed close, ready to catch her if she fell. The rest of the dancers formed a protective semicircle behind her. She placed her hands on the keys, took 3 deep breaths, and began to play. It's funny that way. You can get used to the tears and the pain. Her voice cracked again. But this time she didn't stop. She pushed through it, singing through the tears, through the pain, through 33 years of buried grief. What Daddy never told me, what my mother never said. The audience began to sing with her, not loudly, not to perform, but to support, soft voices joining hers, holding her up through the hardest song she'd ever had to sing. When Madonna's voice broke completely on the line, "You can't hurt me now, I got away from you," half the arena was singing it for her, with her surrounding her with their voices when her own failed. The song ended. Madonna sat at the piano, head bowed, shoulders shaking with sobs. The audience stood in respectful silence, giving her the space to feel everything she'd suppressed for 3 decades. Madonna only performed 11 songs that night, instead of 22. She apologized 3 times, offered refunds to anyone who wanted them. Not a single person asked for their money back. Instead, something else happened. After the abbreviated show ended, Madonna stayed on stage for almost an hour. Fans lined up, and she spoke with them one by one, hugged them, listened to their stories. Sarah Chen, the pink-haired woman who'd started the wave of solidarity, reached Madonna and said something that made the superstar break down crying again. "My mum died when I was 6. I understand, you don't have to be strong all the time. That's what you taught me tonight." Madonna hugged this stranger like she was family, and maybe in that moment she was. Later that night, back in her hotel room, Madonna made a confession to her manager that would change how she approached every December 1st moving forward. "I've been breaking down on this day for 33 years, she admitted. Every single year, in hotel rooms, in bathrooms, in cars. I just made sure nobody ever saw it. Because superstars don't break. Icons don't cry. Legends don't show weakness." Joe sat with her in silence for a moment before responding. "Maybe that's exactly what they need to do." The next morning, Madonna did something she hadn't done in years. She drove to Calvary Cemetery in Roseville, Michigan, to her mother's grave. The headstone was simple: Madonna Louise Ciccone, 1933 to 1963. Madonna placed flowers on the grave and sat on the cold ground beside it for over an hour. She talked to her mother like she hadn't in decades, not with anger or guilt, but with honest grief. "I'm sorry I couldn't save you, Mom," she whispered. "I spent my whole life trying to prove I was worth you staying for. But maybe that was never the point. Maybe I just needed to admit that I miss you, that I've always missed you, that it's okay to not be okay." The Detroit concert became one of the most talked about performances of Madonna's career, but not for the usual reasons. No costume changes, no controversial moments, no viral dance moves, just raw, honest human grief, witnessed by 18,000 people who responded with compassion instead of judgment. Social media exploded with testimonials. A Twitter thread started by a fan who'd been there that night received over 50,000 responses, each one a story about hidden grief, about lost parents, about the pressure to be strong when all you want to do is fall apart. "Madonna taught me something tonight." One comment read, "Being vulnerable isn't being weak, it's being human." December 1st, 2016. Exactly 1 year after the Detroit breakdown, Madonna was scheduled to perform in Las Vegas. This time she did something different. Before the show, she posted a photo on Instagram, her mother's gravestone covered in fresh flowers. The caption read, "33 years ago today, I lost my mother. Tonight, I'll perform in her honor. This time, I won't hide the tears." And she didn't. When "Oh Father" came in the set list, Madonna sang it while crying openly. But this time, she didn't stop. She didn't apologize. She just felt it, lived through it, let the audience hold space for her grief. It was one of the most powerful performances of her life. That December night in Detroit taught Madonna and 18,000 witnesses something profound. Strength isn't about never falling apart. Strength is about having the courage to fall apart in front of others and trusting them to help you stand back up. The empty seat in the front row that Madonna had been staring at all night. It had been reserved under a specific name, Madonna Ciccone, her mother's name. "I wanted her there," Madonna explained months later in an interview, "even if only symbolically, even if only in absence, because her absence is what shaped everything I am." Madonna's breakdown on December 1st, 2015, reminds us that grief doesn't have an expiration date. It doesn't matter if it's been 3 years or 33 years. The loss of a parent leaves a hole that never fully heals. It just changes shape. And maybe that's okay. Maybe we're not supposed to get over the people we love. Maybe we're just supposed to learn to carry the weight of their absence while still moving forward. That night in Detroit, Madonna showed the world that even the biggest superstars are human. They hurt, they grieve, they miss their mothers. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is stop pretending everything is fine, stand in front of thousands of people, and say 5 simple words, "I can't do this tonight." Because in that moment of absolute vulnerability, Madonna gave every person in that arena, and millions who heard the story afterward, permission to be human too. If this story touched you, share it with someone who needs to know that it's okay to not be okay. Subscribe for more untold stories about the humanity behind music's biggest legends, and in the comments tell us, what's the grief you've been hiding? What's the pain you've been too strong to show? Because, like Madonna learned that night in Detroit, we don't heal by being strong. We heal by being honest.